In the center of Beijing, the capital city of China, there is a complex of imperial buildings built 700 years ago. This place was once the supreme state-run educational institution and a venue to commemorate Confucius. How did this university work? How were government officials selected in ancient China? This is the story of this historical site. In 1306, during the reign of the Yuan dynasty, a complex of school buildings was built in central Beijing. In the next 600 years, despite the changes in dynasties, it had been the highest state-run university and the Ministry of Education. It means the president of the university was also the Minister of Education. As a country with a vast territory, the selection of central government and local government officials had always been an important matter for every dynasty in ancient China. In the Han Dynasty more than 2,000 years ago, local governments would regularly recommend talents to the central government. However, the disadvantage of this practice was that the recommended people were often members of powerful local families and were not real talents. Therefore, by the Sui dynasty 1400 years ago, a system of selecting officials through examinations was established. The exam content was articles from ancient Chinese classics. This system lasted for nearly 1300 years until it was abolished in 1905, a few years before the fall of the Qing dynasty. This square building is where the emperor gave speeches to the students. The chair in the middle is where the emperors once sat, and the Chinese characters on the plaque were written by Emperor Qianlong. Just like nowadays, students need to go to school to study before taking exams. In ancient China, there were government-run and private schools in nearly every region. As I mentioned in the previous videos, students needed to take multiple exams at the regional, provincial, and central levels before they could finally be qualified to serve as government officials. Very few people could pass all the exams. Central-level exams were held roughly every 3 years, and only about 300 students could pass each time. Regarding who could study in this state-run school, some students were recommended by schools in other regions, and some were children of senior officials. The school was not large and could only accommodate hundreds of students. The rooms in the surrounding corridors were once their classrooms. Moreover, graduating from here did not mean that they could automatically become a government official. Students here also had to take exams like others. Therefore, the symbolic significance of this school was greater than its actual significance. It was more to show the country's emphasis on education. Next door to this courtyard is the Confucius Temple, which is the venue commemorating Confucius. The two courtyards were built in the same era. We can see many stone steles here. As I mentioned, about 300 students passed the exam every 3 years, and their names were all recorded on these stone steles. Confucius is an ancient man who lived more than 2,500 years ago. He advocated the idea that people should be loyal to the country, respectful to their parents, kind to others, and also be trustworthy. He also believed that everyone had the right to education and everyone should do things according to the rules. Unfortunately, China at that time was divided into several states, and each state was trying to annex its opponents. Therefore, military development was the top priority. It was difficult for his theory to be adopted by those in power. But hundreds of years later, when China had been unified, the rulers of the empire found that Confucius' ideas were suitable to be used as the mainstream ideology to rule the country. From then on, Confucius' social status was continuously improved until he was called a sage. Almost every dynasty regarded Confucius' theories as the dominant ideology. The commemoration of Confucius was also of great significance. The scale of this Confucius temple is very large, and the style of the main hall is the same as that of the imperial palace. In the main hall, there are memorial tablets dedicated to Confucius and his students. The Chinese characters on the plaques hanging in the main hall were written by various emperors. This reflects the emperor's respect for Confucius. Interestingly, many students today also come here to pray for good luck before taking exams. Hundreds of years have passed, and these two building complexes are like monuments, symbolizing the ancient Chinese people's commitment to education and their admiration for the sage.